Hal min friend, and welcome to yet another video, and welcome to yet another episode of how to go back and mess up everybody's favorite character. Episode 100,444. Oh yes, indeed. Please, my dear friends, look at the screen. We are looking at a character from the Batman comic books, Mr. Freeze. I'm sure that even those of you who have never read any comic book in your lives know this particular villain. Now, of course, he has only appeared in one live-action film, and that is in Batman and Robin. Probably, most certainly the worst Batman movie there is. He was portrayed by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and yes, even though that film is very bad, we have to, I think, agree on the fact that, at least as far as the comedic aspect of the film, Arnold Schwarzenegger was the best part. Now, the character is quite a popular Batman villain, although not the most popular, and I have always thought that he was a little bit underappreciated and underused. Now, of course, we live in the world of over-Jokerized Batman stories, when everybody knows the Joker, and they are putting him in almost every movie now, and most certainly in almost every comic book, but this particular character, of course, was conceived a long time ago, I think around the issue 120-something of the initial Batman series. And then he was, of course, a little bit of a jokey character, but that was what superhero comic books were in the past. And then at the beginning of 1990s, Batman the Animated Series was coming out, a series that I grew up with, and it is famous for not only being revolutionary as far as storytelling and its darkness and gothic feeling and the animation itself, but also for bringing or reimagining many characters in the Batman mythos that then stayed the canon until nowadays, or until recently. And it very often happened that characters appeared for the first time in Batman the Animated Series, and only then were used in the comic books, such as Harley Quinn. But in the case of Mr. Freeze, right here, Bruce Timm and Paul Dini, the creators and writers of the show, they remade the origins of Mr. Freeze and made him a tragic character. Now, given, yes, he is a villain, but his origin was that he was a scientist, a genius man, and his wife was very sick, Nora Freeze. Now, his name is Victor Fries, F-R-I-E-S. Now, that is a nice pun on the name. Then was Mr. Freeze, right, like freezing something. And he put her in stasis that he invented in some sort of liquid, so he could keep her alive, and that until he finds a cure for her illness. Now, there was an accident. I will not go into depth, but there was an accident in which he was thrown or fell into a liquid that made him who he is, a man whose body temperature is very low, and he needs to be kept in this special suit, and so on and so forth. And he, of course, needs funds and money to continue looking for the cure for his wife and for himself. And so that is why he goes on crime sprees, right? Like robs banks and so on and so forth. And of course, this puts him in conflict with Batman, the hero. And that's it. But what drives him, what drives this villain, is his unending love for his wife. So he is one of the very few villains where I do agree, and I like the fact that he is a conflicted character, that he isn't just a baddie just for the sake of itself. He is a character, a villain that has got backstory, that is a tragic hero, and you can sympathize and empathize with him, and you can understand why he does what he does. Now, they tried many times in the recent past to make each and every single villain this way, but not each and every single is this way. Sometimes in stories it's just the baddie is the baddie because he is the baddie, and it's simple as that. Like they tried to do in The Rings of Power recently. They really tried to make you feel sympathetic for Sauron. Well, it wasn't really Sauron, but, you know, they called him Sauron Halbrand. But you know what I mean. The same thing they tried to do with the Joker, with the Joaquin Phoenix's film. And of course, then, well, that actually started with Alan Moore and his origin story for the Joker and The Killing Joke. But they tried to do it with Thanos, for example, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But in the comic books, he had better reasons that drove him anyway. He fell in love with the Death, so that's romantic again. But you know what I mean. But here, please look at the screen. This comes from one of the latest issues of Batman comic books, and they deconstructed this particular villain. So he is not anymore trying to find the cure for his wife and keep her alive in the stasis so he can wake her up later and be with her forever until they, you know, pass away. But let us see this single panel in which he says, "We don't fight anymore. She's not out spending my money, and I don't sit alone in an empty house wondering who she's out with or when she'll be home all the time." So there we go. Suddenly, Mr. Freeze actually is glad and happy that his wife is in this stasis, cryogenic chamber, or whatever it is called. She's not his love anymore so much, and he is not looking forward to finding the cure, waking her up, being with her forever, because he had been annoyed by her actions. He was angered by the fact that she was spending their money and that she was out with friends, that she was living life. So suddenly they made him into this very jealous, almost, they like to call it, sexist man who is really a dick. And that is something that a lot of people have troubles with today, as far as this comic book goes. I mean, with this particular panel, a lot of comic book fans, including myself, who have been fans of this particular character a long time. Now, of course, I've listened to some reviews. I haven't read this comic book in its entirety. I refuse to read the majority of the mainstream American comic books because look at what they are doing to the characters. But I've heard a review of Thinking Critical over at YouTube, and he said that the comic book is not badly written. There's just this one thing deconstructing the character, and they always have to do something like that. Those people are jealous of the creativity and the genius minds of those who came before them, like Paul Dini and Bruce Timm. And all they can do is destroy and deconstruct what their betters did in the past, instead of thinking of something great of their own. So I just wanted to let you know that the destruction of the beautiful things that we all love hasn't ended, and that we should refuse to consume these products. Alright, let me know in the comments down below what you think, and that will be all. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm out of here.